Hello, my name is Malachi Floyd. I've been working with Philadelphia Mural Arts for about 12 years now.
My name is Nathaniel Lee, and I'm a staff artist with Mural Arts Philadelphia, and I have been working with them for 16 years now.
We have one of the largest collections of murals throughout the world. We are now showing other individuals how to best facilitate creating murals in their own cities. So this tutorial is going to help you facilitate these projects.
The origins of mural cloth actually date back to the olden days when people would paint on canvas and then literally use like hide skin glue to glue up their murals on an interior space. All of the materials they were using were biodegradable, so if you put it outside, it'd probably only last 6 months to a year. The materials we are using are all plastic-based, acrylic-based. So the materials we're using will last at least 20 years.
Mural cloth has been revolutionary. It has many benefits beyond the fact that it allows muralists to work inside while the weather is bad. It also allows us to work with groups of individuals such as incarcerated people, disabled communities, as well as the youth. These individuals cannot work on scaffolding. This allows us to bring the mural cloth to their level.
So this is the mural cloth in its raw state. We're just going to rough cut the cloth, get it to approximately the 5 by 5 that we need. We'll probably make it like 5.5 feet, 6 feet, knowing that we'll be trimming off that excess later.
While we're priming our cloth to get a barrier between the wall and our paint that we're going to actually paint our design. When you have the raw cloth, the reason why you're putting so much primer on it is because primer is cheaper than paint. Ultimately, you're looking to fully saturate with the primer. You want to have as much saturation as possible, but you also want to be aware that you're not leaving globs of primer when it dries.
And what you want to make sure when you're hanging up is that your rough cut edge is going on the line, not your neat factory edge, because we want to preserve those factory edges nice and clean. Once the primer is dry to the touch, you're good to go. So for me, I like to fill up my studio with like 20 sheets at a time. Then the next day I come back and I know they're dry. But if you're in a pinch, you need to do it sooner. As soon as it's dry, you can use it.
So we're looking to make marks for our final dimensions. Here is 5 feet.
So the plywood is lined up with this edge, and that is as true as we can get 90 degrees right now.
We are just removing our rough edges that we left to hang on the drying rack. Now we don't need those anymore. We can remove them, cut, rotate, and cut, keeping our factory edge.
So as an artist, you need to figure out how you're going to take your design and make it into a paint by number or coloring book for the volunteers in the community to help you paint. A design like this, not my painting by the way, is pretty easy. They did it intentionally simplified so that the final artwork could better involve the whole community. You know, some of these designs, we put a grid over it, and each one of these little squares becomes a sheet of mural cloth. And how do you figure that out? The way I do it is on my computer, 1 inch equals 1 foot in real life. We're gonna teach you the old school way using a digital projector.
So using my coloring chart and a mechanical pencil, I'm just outlining the bold shapes of the colors that I want my participants to actually paint.
So some of the shapes will be very loose, and some of them will be a lot more detailed for those who can actually handle the more detailed areas. So the level of detail that I am going to strive for while I'm outlining the paint by number, I'm thinking about the participants who are going to work with me. Don't feel as though this is a perfect guideline as to what you should do. Find your rhythm.
When it comes back from the paint day event with the volunteers, you'll see there's some sections where they didn't paint at all. They just skipped it for whatever reason. There's other areas that have different levels of quality. Yeah, but then what we do as professionals is go back over it using pure paint, using glazing mediums in the acrylic, whatever it takes to make it look like a professional caliber piece of art. However, the volunteers still get to take credit for being an important part of that process because they did paint the underpainting, and it's so much easier for me, the professional, to paint this kind of work when I can see it in the context of all the other colors and tones versus trying to paint this caliber of work on just a blank white canvas and go from 0 to 60. We've set up this little corner of a wall to really show you how to install on a textured wall, whether brick, stucco, it all affects how you squeegee the mural cloth onto the wall itself.
At this phase in our mural production, we are unrolling and laying our parachute cloth on our freshly placed drop cloth, artwork facing downward, so that we can easily glue the back of the sheets. The goal again with the mural cloth gluing phase is, again, full saturation. You're going to work from the middle out, gluing up close to the edge, but you do not need to go over it. You're going to get your cloth fully saturated, as well as the wall fully saturated as best as possible before you install and sandwich them together.
The initial tack of the gel adhesive allows the cloth to stick to the wall, but then it also allows it to be slid around. And there's a delicate balance of pressing it into the wall to hold it, but then also, if you press it in too much, it stays in place.
With squeegeeing, again, you want to work from the center out, moving all the air bubbles to the outer edges, trying to create a border of gel so that you know that there are no bubbles that will surprise you when the mural cloth actually dries. But if any bubbles do appear, know that it is fixable with just a razor blade and a little bit more gel. So while we're squeegeeing out the gel, we're going to constantly place it back into our 5-gallon bucket of gel to try to recover as much as possible, to reuse it as we're doing the process.
So now we like to scrub it down. You can use a car wash sponge or the fancy drywall sponges they sell at big box stores. You have your water. You've already spritzed the surface. The goal is to just scrub down that gel that's on the face of the artwork. Another really nice thing about doing it this way is that I can feel my artwork, and I can feel when I come across a globule of gel that we didn't get with the squeegee. It's like my final check. We're good to go, except we still have our masking tape, which is now impregnated with that gel. We got masking tape up here, Again, if I were to leave the masking tape up there, that gel would permanently fuse it to the wall.
While we're doing this, we're also checking for the temperature for the best result for our curing process. Because when the temperature is below 50 degrees, it may dry, but it may not cure perfectly, adhering it to the wall the way that we want it to for long-lasting results.
In your installation, a good artist makes sure that where it's not perfectly aligned is easy to touch up. So when it comes to the seams, I'm really only trying to hide my seams down low on the ground level of the artwork where people can see it. I really don't care about the seams unless it's really obvious up top. So in a situation like this, what I'm looking for is areas that got scuffed in the installation process and need to be touched up, or final details, or things that look different when it's glued up on the wall versus in the artificial light of my studio. Gaps between the seams that need to be done, or any time there's a line going through that has a little jog in the seam because it doesn't line up correctly. All right, so we've glued up our panels, we've touched up everything, the gaps between the seams. It's been a day. This is nicely dry enough. We can just go ahead and seal it.
We're putting on our sealer because it makes our mural even out the sheen with all the colors that we painted on there, and it makes our mural last longer. When we start with applying our sealer to the wall, it starts off very milky, but no fear, it will dry clear. What we are going to look for are air bubbles or globs, but just like with our primer, we can remove those and make it smooth so that it dries clear.
And don't forget, you gotta sign your artwork. It is artwork after all.
Looking for more resources or need assistance on a mural project? Connect with us at muralartsinstitute.com.